Okay, moving on to item 3C, State of the City Address. President Duncan.
Welcome to the State of the City. 1 year ago, we were gathered in this very same room to call a state of emergency for the city of Beloit. The City Council empowered city staff to respond to the immediate threat of COVID-19. There were a lot of unknowns about the virus, and over the course of the last year, all of our lives were completely changed. We are thankful for all of the sacrifices made by those in our community. Thank you, especially to those working on the front lines in healthcare or as a first responder, in the police, fire, and public works department, as well as to all those workers who provided core services such as cleaning and groceries. We know that it was draining in our community, especially for our frontline workers. Each decision that the city made throughout this time was in the context of doing everything possible to keep our employees and the public safe. Even with these efforts, like communities all over the world, Beloit experienced great loss throughout the pandemic. My own family was touched. Nearly 6 dozen Beloiters lost their lives to COVID-19. They are mourned by their friends and loved ones. Any loss of life is one too many, and we must continue to work diligently to stop the spread of the virus and provide access to vaccines to all, so that we can safely return to gatherings and events. Please continue to follow safety guidelines. Please get the vaccine when it's your turn, socially distance, and wear your mask when you're with people who are outside your household. Our community has certainly struggled and sacrificed throughout this time, but we see hope. We are proud of the work that the city has done in the last year. While responding to COVID-19, just last week, staff began giving vaccines to homebound individuals. Whereas a year ago, little was known about the virus, and staff spent the initial few months securing supplies, adjusting staffing schedules, and implementing unprecedented changes to keep staff and the community safe. Initial concerns about continuity of operations were addressed. We are proud that we were able to provide core services to the community. There were no pauses in critically important services like policing, fire and emergency, medical services, snow plowing, solid waste, pickup or recycling, and having quality drinking water. In turn, the community went above and beyond to donate supplies and to sew masks. Local distilleries stepped up to provide hand sanitizer. We received other personal protective equipment items from tattoo shops and supply companies. City staff worked diligently to partner with the Wisconsin National Guard to bring community testing to Beloit. When our Hispanic community members were seeing a disproportionate number of cases, our staff created content in Spanish. Our Parks and Recreation staff came up with creative and innovative ways to engage residents with virtual activities, curbside pickup, craft kits, and more. Our Beloit Public Library, despite being closed for 2 months, kept the Wi-Fi on so that job seekers and others could access the internet while sitting or being parked outside of the building. Drive-up service, digital offerings, and virtual story time became the norm as families looked for ways to stay engaged, informed, and even entertained. Administering 2 significant elections are not without challenges. During non-emergency times, city employees from all our departments and volunteers stepped up to ensure that the election would be fair, accessible, and safe. The murder of George Floyd created civil unrest across the country. In Beloit, peaceful demonstrations shared the message that Black Lives Matter. We will continue to strive for justice and equity for all people. We see hope. because our police department had already enacted progressive policies that benefit our entire community, like body cameras. This establishes transparency and builds trust. Our hiring practices have also been modernized to take appropriate recruiting and outreach steps to ensure that the workforce is more reflective of the community that we serve. We see hope when, for the first time in history, we developed formal regional partnerships with our neighbors for shared services. We approved a sewer service agreement and sharing of a fire chief with the town of Beloit, with fire and medical responders crossing municipal boundary lines. Together, this gives us the opportunity to provide a more comprehensive level of care. We see hope in organizations like Axe Housing, which has helped more than a dozen low-income families achieve the dream of home ownership. We see hope as 1,200 jobs were created with the opening of the Amazon distribution warehouse. We see hope as our city's sound financial practices have made strides, including through our increased bond rating that will lower our interest rates. We see hope in our NARSA neighborhoods, which have had a combined $1.7 million in residential improvements in the last 2 years. We see hope with all of the economic development activity and the construction of ABC Stadium and the renovations for the new home of Visit Beloit in the former Angel Museum. We see hope with the significant growth in our community. New transit routes serve the Gateway Industrial Park to help connect the workforce to employers. We are optimistic that we could see a groundbreaking for the Ho Chunk entertainment destination yet this year. We see hope that by working together, we will grow even stronger because of our diversity, through our valued public and private partnerships, and due to our community spirit. And in closing this evening, I just want to say that it has been an honor to serve as the council president for the last 2 years, and it is bittersweet to turn over the reins next month. Thank you to my fellow city councilors and to our Beloit residents who provided me the opportunity to serve on this body and as council president for the last 2 years. We've experienced a lot of change and growth over this time, and I am confident that the positive momentum will continue. We have a great deal to feel hopeful about throughout the remainder of 2020 and beyond, and we will all move forward as a community because we are all in this together, Beloit. And thank you all that are here this evening.